Hey everyone, good morning and welcome to Morning Tea. Today we have a special guest. We have Nilda Thomas with us today. She's an ed tech consultant. But before we get started, I just want to remind you that we are here every Thursday at 6 a.m. to give you motivation, inspiration, and education so that you can go forth and have something productive to think about during your day. So welcome again to Morning Tea. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe because sharing is caring. So I'm going to bring in Nilda and she's going to introduce herself to you. Hi, Nilda.
Hi, how are you?
Welcome
and I have my cup here.
Yes, welcome to Morning Tea. I'm so happy to have you here. So I gave the audience a brief description about you, but tell us who you are and so that we can just dive into the conversation.
Sure. Well, again, thank you for inviting me. I am Nilda Thomas, and I am the CEO of Workforce eTraining Solutions LLC. And we're an ed tech consultancy providing online career and technical training to students in those underserved communities.
Okay, great. So tell us a little bit about yourself. Like, where are you located currently? Where did you grow up? You know, how did you become the Nilda that is sitting before me today?
Okay, well, I am based in right outside of Detroit, but I am a Detroiter. What we call the Big D, right? And Town. And so I grew up in Detroit, went to Detroit public schools. I was involved in a lot of various civic organizations, you know, the Girl Scouts, church. My parents were very, also church. My parents were very active in the church and also very active in the community. So, I saw it firsthand. I went to Detroit public schools. I also went to college in Michigan and graduated with a BA in marketing communications from the University of Detroit, and then went on after 20 years after I graduated 20 years later, and I was in the workforce. I went back to school and got my MBA in e-business.
Oh, wow. Okay. So did you do all of your college years in Detroit, or did you leave Detroit and go somewhere else for college?
I did do all my college in Detroit. However, on my undergrad, my minor was in Spanish because that was an easy A for me because I'm Afro-Latina. And
right, I was going to get to that because I was like, she didn't mention that she's Afro-Latina. Okay, go ahead.
I ended up actually spending time in my college years for a semester in Mérida, Yucatan. And so I actually spent the winter semester, which was great because that was a year that they had just, I don't know, they had a lot of snow here in Michigan, and I was there under the palm trees and 90 degree weather on the beach. It was great. So I lived with the family there. So we had classes.
You have family there?
No, I didn't have family. I lived with the family because I was an exchange student, and so we had a group of us from the University of Detroit. Our class, we were all paired with a particular family there in Mérida. And it was quite an experience. So it was great because we had classes Monday through Thursday. And so we actually had Friday off. So we always would, get together as a group and actually went to an island within Yucatan called Isla Mujeres, which means island of women in Spanish. And so, we would take the bus and ride on the countryside, get to Isla Mujeres, and then we would take a ferry over to the island. And then that's where we would kind of spend the weekend and just have a good time.
And this was in your undergraduate years, correct?
Yes.
And you stayed there for one whole year, or just a semester?
No, it was just a semester. It was the winter term.
Oh, okay. All right, so you had a good time. I know, visiting other places, I think doing that college exchange year or that semester is sometimes pivotal to the success of the college student because you get to learn something new. You get to see something outside yourself because sometimes we become so self-centered because we think that the bubble that we live in, and that's it. And then we get to go out and just enjoy somebody else's culture, learn something new, and you get to talk, speak Spanish with people who are native with their tongue. And perfect your language even more. So I think that's really great. That is something I tell college students: if you're able to do a semester abroad, take advantage of it, you know?
Yes. It's all about exposure. And I guess I've been blessed with being able to, have that Cuban heritage. And so whenever we would celebrate, for the holidays for Christmas, we always celebrate Noche Buena, which means good night. Noche Buena celebrated the night before Christmas. And so we would go to church, in the evening, and then we come back home, we would have a big feast. And my mother would get up, in the morning and have the regular traditional American, Christmas dinner. So
you celebrated both. Yeah, you celebrated both your African American heritage and your Hispanic heritage.
Yes, yes.
So a question, just out of curiosity, because I'm always curious, because I've been around a lot of Hispanic people as well. Did you teach your children Spanish?
Did I teach my children Spanish? Yes, they know Spanish. Now, they don't know it as well as I knew it, but I had no choice but to learn it because my grandparents never spoke any English. So I spent a lot of time with them because my mother came from Cuba back like around 1954, I think, and that for Castro. And so when she married my dad, my grandparents came from Cuba, and my aunt, and they lived in New York. And so, and my grandparents went over to Puerto Rico and lived in Puerto Rico until they got older, and then they moved to New York to be with my aunt. So I actually, and growing up, I would spend my grandparents would come maybe around, just before springtime, like around March time frame, stay with us. When I got out of school, I would go back with them to New York, and then from New York we would go to Puerto Rico. So growing up, I spent, traveling in the summers. It was a great, great childhood.
How did your mom end up in Detroit?
Oh, that's a love story.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a love story.
Traditionally, when people come from Cuba, and I mean, it's just what it is, they tend to stay in the Florida, Miami area or New York, but Detroit is just such a strange place to hear that someone went, so just.
Well, just to make a long story short, there was a very affluent African-American family that were a little bit older than my mom and dad, and they would go to Cuba back when you could go back and forth, years ago. And they were smitten with my mom. They met my mom. They were very smitten with her. She spoke a little bit of English. They invited her to come to the United States. And so she got her papers together to visit, and she stayed with them, here in Detroit. And this couple had two children who were around my mother's age, my father's age. And so my mother was here, I think, I want to say about maybe 2 or 3 weeks, on her visa. And so they wanted my mom to meet some people her age. And so their children had, children, they were adults, had a party for my mom. And my dad happened to be, at the party, and they met. And this was like about a week before she was supposed to go back to Cuba. And so my dad, they went to dinner, they went to the movie and everything, but back then they had to be chaperoned. So this couple had to go on the date with them, right? And then the rest was through, letters and everything. And then my dad was in the insurance business, and so he would happen to be in Florida and Miami on business, and it was close to Cuba. And so he and one of his colleagues, said that they're going to go to Cuba. They're going to, he had someone in Cuba he wanted to see. They went to Cuba, and my dad saw my mom again, met my grandparents, and then came back, and then shortly later they got married.
Wow. Oh, wow.
Yeah, and they were married for over 50 years.
Wow.
Yeah, and my mom is still living now. She's gonna be 92 this year.
Really? Yes. Oh, wow. Okay. So after you graduated from college, tell us what happened to you then. What did you do? Did you go into corporate? Did you decide to take the entrepreneurship route? How did you transition from leaving college into the workforce and then deciding to become the entrepreneur?
Well, I did go into the workforce. So after college, I worked at the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, also the Detroit Free Press. So I worked in the newspaper area, publishing, and then I started working with some of the computer companies, right? So I actually worked for EDS, Microsoft, Deloitte, AT&T. So I worked with a lot of the big companies, and so I was able to get some experience, in the technology field from America. And I, basically marketed technology solutions to Fortune 500 companies. Started out as a technical writer, and but then I had several corporate downsizings because with being in Detroit is such an automotive focused town that everything is either directly or indirectly related to automotive. And so what happens is, you have the corporate downsizing, and there you are. But I've always had some type of entrepreneurial spirit. I think I get that from my dad, because my dad was in the insurance business, and he was actually the first African American to sell $1 million worth of life insurance, and this was back in the 60s. And he was with Metropolitan Insurance Company, so that was an all-white company, and there was only a handful of African Americans in their profession. And so I think I got that from him. I was always I used to make jewelry and those T-shirts with embellishments and all of that stuff. I was always doing something, some kind of fundraising or something, right? So that I guess I get it naturally, right? And I just decided to go on ahead and take the plunge. I started first with my own marketing consultancy, where I was marketing technology solutions, or helping nonprofits and small business leverage new marketing and technology trends. And then I ended up moving over into the online training piece because I actually had that experience when I was at EDS.
Okay. So I'm still trying to understand, really, from technology to online training. How did you decide that you wanted to get into online training? Like, what happened that made you decide online training is a space that I really want to grow as my business?
When I was at EDS, and this was back in the late 90s, early 2000s, I was project marketing manager for the distance learning group. And back then, no one didn't even know what distance learning was. And I was
that's kind of what I wanted to hear, because I'm just like, that's way ahead of the time. A lot of people are, even though we've been using the internet, we know that we can do a lot of things on the internet. I don't think that people truly understood how to leverage social media and internet marketing and distance learning until last year, because of the pandemic. So you've been in this for a long time, and that's like way ahead. Like, you were like a visionary before your time. So
And yes, I was. And actually, like I said, I was very just fascinated with how people could learn online. And so during one of my corporate downsizings, I actually had started doing some work with one of the smaller universities here, as doing some research, because they wanted to develop a online forensic nursing program. And so while I was doing that research, actually it was God that just said to me, start your own online training company. Because I was trying to figure out, okay, what's going to be my next move, because this was just a contract, small, short-term, contract that I was on. And I had to figure out, okay, when this is over, what am I going to do? And so that's when, he spoke to me and said, start your own online training business. And at the time, because I was so focused on the forensics piece, I was, my first company, the name was called International Forensics eLearning Academy. And I had a Homeland Security vetted type programming. I had things for hospitals and EMTs and firefighters and all of these online programs. However, we're talking about back, before 2005. They weren't ready for that yet. I was too soon. They weren't
wanted face-to-face training.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so then that's when, God spoke to me again and said, everybody can, needs training, not just this segment of people. So need to, broaden my scope. And that's when I changed it to Workforce eTraining Solutions. But still at that time, people just weren't ready for it yet. So I ended up starting to do some consulting with nonprofits. And I was able to see, I was with foundations, I was with smaller nonprofits, and also the Hispanic Chamber. And so I was able to see that there was staff that needed to have training because they didn't have that business or technology acumen. You have your nonprofits that also have these workforce development programs. A lot of workforce development programs were mainly like customer service, retail, that type of thing. They didn't have anything that, to me, that was going to help uplift our people or those that are underserved into a different arena, and now that companies, a lot of companies don't require you to have a degree. I'm not, if you need to, if you can go to school, go to school. But a lot of companies now, you can still get now some really decent jobs, not having a degree. I mean, Google is even hiring.
Don't you think that's a little strange though? It's like everything that's old is new again. Because at least in my era, you couldn't get a job without having a degree. You needed an associate degree, a bachelor's degree, or a master's degree to get even your foot through the door. But it seems like we have gone back to where people are willing to give you a chance, and like you said, make a decent living on some type of a training program. Right. And that's a real turn of events, because at one point in time, all we were doing was pushing people into colleges. And now people like myself have hundreds of thousands of dollars in student loans.
Me too. You're not alone.
Still trying to get hundreds of thousands of dollars in student loans, and someone who just went to a training program probably paid anywhere between $5,000 to maybe $15,000 can get a job that's comparable to what I would get with my degree. Right.
I mean, they're hiring programmers now. Digital marketing specialists.
Yeah, it's strange how things just kind of evolve. It's fascinating to me that, we have gone this way away from so many people going to college and college being the standard of being able to make a living in society. Now you just have to have a bright idea, some willingness, and a little bit of training, and you can go out there and, feed your family. Right. You don't have to college anymore. So I see where your programs become an essential tool for those people who don't have the desire to go study for 4 years, right? Their whole lives on hold. They could come out of high school and get some type of training and be workforce ready. So that's amazing that we're back to that. And I was reading an article. And just to reiterate how important workforce training is, I read an article the other day that said stuff like plumbers, electricians, and they named another trade. But I think every year, like maybe about 500 of those people, or 5,000, I can't remember, it's 500 or 5,000 of those people retire. And there are not enough trained people to replace them. And if we don't start getting people trained, we're going to be in problem. Right. So that's
they make good money.
I think we got away so much in my years of growing up, and I'm 40 something years old. So in my generation, I think we got away so much from the development of skills, of vocational skills, because I think after I graduated from high school, because I taught for a long time, when I was teaching, vocation was not something that was pushed. They were like academics. So we were just pushing people into the academics, and we forgot that we need tradesmen. We need people who have those, foundational skills in order to get the job done. So yeah, very interesting. Yeah. Okay, so now you're doing the workforce development training. How have you seen, or what has the transition been for you in the last year? Because now everybody's focused on, let's get stuff done online. This is the time. We can't meet in person because of social distancing, because of everything that's going on. Have you seen an uptake in business, or a lot more people now doubling back and being like, oh, okay, let's kind of think about getting this training done through this company? Because when they were offering it to us, we didn't want it because we wanted people to be in front of us and talk to us and, you know, socialize with us. Now that we have this platform, have you seen an uptake?
Yes, I have, in all areas. I've seen the uptake. People are now, really, COVID made people change. You know, people don't like to change, but guess what? You have to change. And so, so people had to change, and they had to be receptive and open to new ideas. And if you look at how students are now, you can't really teach today's student the way that we were taught. They're always on the computer, on a tablet, on a device, on their mobile phone. And so the programs that I offer, you can view it on all those different devices. All you have to have is an internet connection. And so, yes, I have seen an uptick, you know, on the people who I've spoken to maybe a few years ago, came back, or they see me online and they want to have a conversation now. Now, when I reach out to people, they're more receptive, but you still have to provide some type of education, because they still don't really get it.
Right, exactly. They still don't really get it because it's still kind of new. Yeah, it's still like untapped territory. Like, we understand we need it. We understand that it's valuable, but exactly how are you going to execute it? I think that's the question probably that you get most of the time. Like, are they going to engage? Are they going to stay engaged? You know, is it going to be too taxing? Are they going to get tension from watching the screen all day? I know, because those are questions I hear parents talk about all the time, especially since I homeschool my daughter. They were like, oh, what about social interaction? We're in the house now. What about social interaction? All your kids are at home.
Right. And, you know, with I work with, you know, community colleges, schools, nonprofits, even in small business, but I'm trying to get the schools to really take a look at your junior high school level students. They're getting ready to graduate. They're going to be going to the workforce or they're going to be going to college. Either way, they need to have some type of skill that's going to allow them to make some decent income. And so why not, you know, provide training to them so they can develop these skills, maybe have a paid internship program, because I'm trying to get the companies in the area to work with myself and schools, and let's have several different cohorts. And these students can take these courses, either try to blend it in with whatever the curriculum might be, or it could be an extra elective or an after school type of a thing, or even a Saturday type of a thing. But get these skills, get some credentials, and then you can get a decent job. There's no reason why any student has to work at a gas station or a 7-Eleven. There's no excuse.
Yeah, I like that train of thought, because a lot of schools, like I said, don't have the vocational skills embedded into their curriculums. So they have some expendable monies that they need to spend on training their kids. We've figured out that kids are coming out of school and they don't even know how to open a bank account. They have no money management skills. They're just oblivious to actually adulting. Right? They're oblivious to adulting. And I really believe that it's the school's responsibility to make sure that these kids, also parents, of course, but the school does play a role in making sure not only do they have academic knowledge, but they have life skills knowledge as well coming out, so that they could come out of high school as productive citizens. To be a productive citizen doesn't just mean math, science, English, and social studies. It means real life skills that can be applicable in the workforce. I've been in places where I've seen like kids come in to fill out an application and they don't even know how to fill out a job application. You know, and at one point in time, I in the summer, when I worked in the summer while I was teaching, we ran something called a life skills class. So in that life skills class, those are the things that we taught kids: how to balance a checkbook, how to open a checking account, how to you know, do all these things, fill out an application, create a resume. It is an essential skill, I think, that every child needs to know to be.
And I actually have those. I actually have those programs in virtual. I have those programs virtual. I have virtual GED. I have virtual workforce readiness programs, money management. Right. Great. And as well as
actually, Nilda is going to be in another segment for change agents, and we're going to really talk about dive deeper into the different programs that she offers and how those programs actually affect change in society, because Nilda is a social entrepreneur, right? She's not only in business for herself to make money, but she actually wants to have the programs and services that she offers impact her community and affect change within the community as well. So, all right, Nilda, we're going to be wrapping up this segment. So leave our audience with at least 3 inspirational things that you think that every entrepreneur, every person who's trying to figure out their way through life, because you've had several roles, you've had to pivot many times because of, like you said, layoffs in the Detroit area, and just things just happening in life, and being able to pivot and pick up and move on. Give us some inspiration, at least 3 things, 3 strategies that people can apply.
I would say, you know, life is going to happen. It's happened to me in different intervals of my life. And you have to be able to be resilient. You have to be able to always be learning, always learn. You always can learn something. Have a coach, have someone that you look up to, or someone that you can see what they're doing and you want to learn from them. So you can always learn from someone else. And then have partners or alliances, because an entrepreneur can't do everything by themselves. There's a lot to go around, but have to have a team.
Yeah, louder for the people in the back.
You have to have a team.
Yep.
No one's going to steal what you have, because what's for you is for you. And you're just better with working with others. Exactly.
I really like that. You are better working with others. Nobody wants to really steal what you have, and you need a team. I like it. Okay, Nilda, thank you so much for being a guest here today on Morning Tea. I really appreciate it. And again, guys, stay tuned for her next segment. It'll show on a different day. But if you really are interested in what Nilda has going on, you definitely need to come and watch the Change Agents segment with Nilda. All right. Bye, everyone, and have a really good day. And see you next episode of Morning Tea. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Tracy.